And the topic today is repeat finesses. And as I've been doing last Friday, I'm actually trying to record this video as we do it. So any questions you ask may come out on the video, or I may repeat them so that they can be heard more clearly. And this is Michael, who's sitting behind me, his suggestion. So it's a way of getting a video. And also, of course, if there's anything you don't understand in the talk, you can go and look at it online. So it will be on the internet this afternoon. So what we're talking... Yeah.
People can also leave comments on YouTube.
Oh, right.
As I've done, because they're really excellent reviews of these lessons.
Thank you, Michael. And I didn't pay him for that. Thank you very much. So the topic I'm looking at today is repeat finesses. And we're looking at a couple of situations a bit like this one, where you're maybe missing a couple of honours. So here's a situation where you're missing the king and the queen of this suit. So you're, I always present this as north being dummy and you being south as declarer. And if you think about how you might play this suit combination, you can see the worst that will happen is you'll lose two tricks. You'll lose to the king and you'll lose to the queen. And in fact, the possible layouts here is that there are actually four possibilities. The king or queen could be in different hands, or they could both be with west, or they could both be with east. And there are four actually almost equal possibilities for those layouts. Now, the way we're going to play this is we're going to lead from our hand. So lead from the south hand, try and lead one of these cards here. And if an honour is played here, of course, we'll beat it with the ace. But if it's not played, we'll let our 10 or whatever we played, let it go around. And we wouldn't be surprised if the 10 loses to the king or queen on our right here. If it does lose, what we hope to do is regain the lead in another suit and then repeat the finesse again. And we'll lead another card here, again letting it go round unless an honour is played from the west hand here. So what are our chances? Well, basically, I think the simplest way to think about this is that in only one case, if the king and queen is on our right, are we likely to lose two tricks? Do you see that? Okay. So in all the other cases, we should manage to finesse one of the high cards against west there. So in fact, the probability of making three tricks here is roughly 3/4. It's actually 76%. If you and there's a program you can download from a website called suitplay.com. It's a Windows program, so you have to do it on a Windows system. But you can download it and you can put in any suit combinations and it will tell you the best way to play it and how many tricks you're likely to make. When you run it, it comes up with a display that looks like this. So here I've put in a suit combination and it's telling me that the probability of three tricks is 76%. And it's also underlining the card that I should lead. So in other words, it's saying I should lead one of the cards from the south hand and lead towards dummy. And 76% of the time, it says I should make three tricks there. Only really if the king and queen are on your right, you're likely to lose two tricks. Okay? Any questions on that? T is a 10. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. You put it. It doesn't like 10 as a. So
what does it say the percentage?
That percentage here is where that red dot is, 76%. Sorry, it's a bit small, this screen. And in fact, if you look on the right, this shows you all the possible layouts of the king, queen. Those are the two cards that matter here. And what are the probabilities what are the probability of that particular layout and how many tricks that will lead to, okay? So you can see that all these, I think, are all going to lead to three tricks. Only these combinations at the bottom will lead to two tricks, which are basically the ones where the king and queen are on your right. Okay. Any questions on any of that? So you can actually, this is just a snapshot of the screen, but you can actually play it and select a card, and it will tell you at any point what the best line is to play on any suit combination. Here's another one that comes up quite a bit. It's where you're missing the king and the jack, and again, there are two cards those are the two cards that you're worried about, and you basically want to think about how they might be divided, which again is in one of four possible ways, all roughly equally likely. The king or jack could be in separate hands, either one way or the other, or they might both be in the west hand, or they might both be in the east hand. And the way you're going to play this suit is to lead towards dummy again. You're going to lead towards your honours. And the best way to play it is to play a low card. If West plays a low card, try to win with the 10 or the 9. Okay? And if whether or not that wins the trick, what you're then going to do is come back to your hand and then repeat the finesse again. And actually, if you play it that way, you can actually give yourself a chance to make all four tricks. It's roughly a 25% chance, or Deep Finesse says it's 24% chance. I hope you can see that in this situation where the king and jack are on your left, if you finesse, you'll win the 9 the first time. If you finesse again, then you'll beat whatever West plays, and you should be able to pick up all four tricks. If the king and jack are on this side, then you're probably going to lose 2 tricks there. Okay, but in the other situations, you should lose 1 trick, but one of the finesses will succeed.
I find this quite confusing. Where are we actually starting from?
Okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to lead from the south hand, okay, and then depending on what they play, we'll play from the north hand. We'll look at some examples of this in a minute. But you're going to lead from this hand, lead towards your honour. If they play low, you're going to play the 10 or the 9, and then later on you're going to finesse again. You're going to again try to get back to this hand and then lead again. Let's have a look at some examples of these layouts using hands. These were actually hands that were played recently where not everyone made the most number of tricks in them. Here's one where a south you open 1 no trump. You've got, I think, 13 points in a balanced hand. Your partner passes, and sorry, I wanted to start with this one. Sorry, let's start with this one. 1 no trump. Your partner passes, and the opponents lead a heart. Okay, so what we start off with in a no trump contract is we start by counting our top trick. So let's take a second and see if you can count how many top tricks you've got altogether. You agree it's 5. I've got 1 spade, 1 heart, 2 diamonds, and 1 club. Okay, those are my 5 top tricks. Where can I make more tricks? Any suggestions? Clubs is a possibility, and spades is another one. And actually, spades is a better chance than the clubs, because in spades you're going to finesse twice in spades and hopefully only lose 1 trick. In other words, you're hoping to make a total of 3 spades, an additional 2 tricks, which will be your contract. The club finesse is only a 50% chance, whereas the chance of the spades yielding 2 tricks is a better chance. You will only lose 2 tricks a quarter of the time. So the spades is definitely your best bet here. So what we'll do, well, the first key play is when they lead a heart, is we've got to decide whether we're going to win this one or not. And it's a good guideline. It's not really the subject of this talk, but where you have 1 stopper in a suit, but you're apart from that quite weak, to use the rule of 7. And the rule of 7 says count how many cards you have in the suit being led, take that away from 7, and that's the number of times you should duck. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to, if they play the king, we'll let that one go. But if they carry on with the heart, let's suppose we follow the rule of 7 and we duck once, okay? So now what? We're in with the 8 of hearts, and we're going to go after the spade suit. So we're going to lead low, okay? If West had played an honor, we would have beaten it. But as they play low, we're going to play one of our, the jack, the 10 or the 9, whichever you like. East wins the trick. We're not too surprised about that. And suppose they play back a club. Well, we have a chance here to try the club finesse. The only danger is if it loses, they'll get in with hearts, won't they? Okay, so it's probably better to go for our better chance here, which is the spade finesse. In other words, let's go up with the ace here and try the spade finesse again. And the chance of this working is better than the club finesse working. Okay, so we'll play a spade, cross your fingers, play low, and if you're lucky, that is, unless both honors were in the east hand, that will win the trick. Okay. After this, you can't really finesse anymore. You could. You could get back to your hand. Yes, you can get back to your hand. Sorry, I was wrong about that. You can get back to your hand, and you can try the finesse again. Okay, now the king is played, so now of course we're going to beat the ace, and now our jack is good, and that's 6 tricks now. We can make our contract now with the king of diamonds, and we can still actually try the club finesse. Okay, in other words, if East has the king of clubs, then we may make a trick here, but we've guaranteed our contract anyway. We'll try the club. It loses on this occasion, and West gets in and takes a number of heart tricks. But we make our 7 tricks, which is something that a lot of people didn't manage on this hand. That was the full layout of the hand there. So the repeat finesse in spades is a much better chance than the club finesse there. Okay, any questions on that? Let's try another one. Yeah. East, yes. Not really, no. When East was in and they led a club, we just had to decide whether to risk the finesse or not there. And because the club finesse is only a 50% chance, the spades was a better chance, so we didn't. So the rule of 7 didn't apply. Here's another one that was played recently, where again, not many people made the contract here. Here we go, 1 no trump, 3 no trump. And again, take a minute and count the top tricks. And then we'll... So how many top tricks have you got? 8. It is 8. It's 1 spade, 2 hearts, you've got 4 diamonds, and a club. So you have 8 top tricks. Where could the extra trick come from? Clubs? Well, we've already counted diamonds as 4 tricks, haven't we? Yeah. So you can't make more than 4 diamonds. So there's 2 possibilities: clubs, or you might think about the hearts. But really, the clubs, the double finesse in clubs, is a better bet than the hearts, which is just a 50% chance. Again, they've led a suit that we're relatively weak in. So we're going to try to use the rule of 7 to decide how many times to duck. How many times should we duck? Twice. We have just 5 spades between us and dummy, so maybe we should duck twice. It's not an absolute guarantee of success, but it's a good guideline to follow. So we're going to plan to duck twice. So let's do that. Let's let them win the first trick. They play back a second spade, which we again let them win, and we're going to win this one, and we have to decide here actually what to discard. Anyone like to suggest something? What do you think? So let's go through the possibilities. I'm not going to discard the Jack of Hearts right away because there's a possibility of a finesse succeeding there. I'm not going to discard a club either because I'm hoping to make, even if I lose one club, I'm hoping to make a total of 3 clubs there. But I can safely discard a diamond. I can still make 4 diamonds even if I discard one because I've got 4 diamonds in the north hand. So I think I'm going for the diamond discard. Okay, now what? Well, now I want to think about finessing in clubs. So to do that, I've got to get the lead back to my hand. Any suggestions? So a club will not do it, okay? A club is not what you want. You need to lead, yeah, maybe a diamond. Yeah, maybe let's lead a diamond over to the ace. And now we're going to play a club. I can see I'm going to have to play the 9 or the 8 here, so there's no point leading the Jack or the 10. I'll play that. I expect to lose that, okay? And let's suppose they come back with a heart, okay? So that's a good sign. That probably means that East doesn't have any more spades left. Are you going to try the finesse in hearts? I don't think so. I can always do it again later if necessary anyway. I've still got an honor there. And now I'm going to try the second finesse. I'm going to lead the 7. And if this hand plays low, I'm going to successfully win the 9. And again, unless you were very unlucky and East had both honors, that 9 should make the trick. Now, this is one where you can't really finesse again because you've just got the singleton and ace there. So let's just cash it. And if you're lucky, the suit will divide evenly and you'll make drop the queen of clubs. Okay, now we're in very good shape. Now we can rattle off the diamonds, 2 rounds there. Okay, on the 3rd diamond here, what are you going to discard? The Jack of Hearts, yeah, because the Jack of Clubs is good, isn't it? So we don't even need to risk the heart finesse here. We can just play a heart back to our hand and then take our last trick there. So we can actually make 10 tricks with a reasonable distribution of the cards there. Okay. Any comments on that one? And we'll do one last one. Yep. Okay. So the rule of 7 is used. It's something I'll cover another time, perhaps. But the rule of 7 is a useful guideline used in no trump when the opponents lead a suit that you are relatively weak in, but where you have a stopper. So it's used, for example, in this situation here. If the opponents, this is the hand we just looked at, but with all hands on show. It's used here. If the opponents lead a spade, you can see you've only got 1 spade stopper. So, beginners start off by wanting to take their ace here, but it often will work out much better if you duck 1 or more times. And the rule of 7 is a useful guideline which helps you in a case like this about how many times to duck. What you do is you look at how many cards you have between you and dummy and deduct that number from 7. So how many spades does North and South have together here? 5. So 7 minus 5 is 2, and that suggests you duck twice if you can, which we can here. And so that's what happens. We let them win the first one, we let them win the second one, we have to win the third one, but can you see that by winning the third one, East is now out of spades. So if East gains the lead, which they will later on with their king of clubs, they won't be able to carry on in spades. So it's a useful guideline for declarer in this kind of situation. It's really only used in no trump because you're not worried about the situation in suit contracts in the same way. All right, one final one, this time involving a suit contract. Here, North opened a heart, you bid a spade, you've got just enough to respond with 6 points, and your partner pushed you into 4 spades. So you expect them to have a pretty good hand. You've only got 6, and fortunately they've got 19. So here we are in 4 spades. They lead the 6 of clubs. And in a suit contract, it's often more useful to try and work out where your likely losers are. How many losers might you have in each suit? So how many spade losers might you have here? I don't think we're going to lose 3. I think I might lose to the king and I might lose to the jack. But apart from that, I've got the ace, queen, 10, 9, 8. So I don't think I'm going to lose 2 at the worst there. What about hearts? Hearts, again, I could lose 2 tricks. But again, there are finessing opportunities there to try to make sure we only lose 1 trick there. In diamonds, I don't think I'm going to lose any. I can ruff if necessary. And I've got 1 club loser, haven't I? So this is a situation where I've got finessing opportunities in both major suits, and I'm going to try and do them all, do them all. And I have to also, because I have to think about drawing trumps here, because we're in a suit contract. So let's suppose we win the first trick, and our attention immediately turns to trumps. And what we're going to do is draw trumps, and at the same time as we draw trumps, we're going to try the finesses. This is again the situation for the involving repeat finesse. So we'll lead a spade from dummy, and what are you going to play from your hand? The best card to play is the 9 there. Okay, yeah, the best card is the 9 there, because you're trying to finesse against the jack as well as the queen. Sorry, the king. Beg your pardon. So you're going to play the 9. You're not necessarily expecting to win this, although of course if it lost, for example, to the king here, you could be pretty certain about where the jack was, couldn't you? Okay. Now, sometimes it will lose to the jack or to the king, or if you're really lucky, it won't lose. Okay. If you're really lucky on a layout like this, it may win the trick, and that probably means that West started with the king and the jack. So we're going to repeat the finesse soon, but we also have a finesse to try in hearts, and it's not a bad idea to do that, because to finesse in hearts, you're going to have to lead from your hand, and you don't have many entries. So while we're in our hand, let's try a finesse in hearts. Again, a double finesse. Let's suppose that one loses, and suppose they play a club back. We'll come back to our hand, back to dummy, and now we're going to do what? Finesse in spades again. Yeah, finesse in trump. So we'll lead that. If they play the jack, we can win that with the queen. And if you're counting, that's 8 trumps gone, isn't it? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 1 out, and it's a king, and we can confidently take it with our ace. Okay, now what? Now we go back to finessing in hearts. Remember, we tried that once. It didn't work the first time. So let's try the second time. Try taking the jack. As long as they're divided evenly, we'll take that. Now maybe take the ace, okay? And again, if you're lucky and everyone has followed, that means that your last heart is good. Your 4 of hearts is good. Okay, everyone has followed for 3 rounds. So you can actually play your 4 of hearts. What are you going to play from your own hand? It's a club, isn't it? Because you don't need to throw away a diamond. You've got a club loser there. The diamond isn't a loser because you'll be able to ruff it. So we'll throw away the club, then take our 2 diamonds. Then we can ruff the club and ruff the diamond. And believe it or not, you can make 12 tricks with this hand. Okay? So here you were lucky in the spades that West had the jack and the king, but if you finesse correctly, you can make 12 tricks. And then, as Michael was saying earlier, this is if it comes up, this is my website where you can go and have a look at all the videos I put up there, and the one we've played today will be out there as well. Okay, so let's